All right, my friends, today is March the 10th. It is Monday morning, a couple hours into the New York session. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. So let's start off with the boring bit. On Wednesday, we had the CPI. You guys should already know the drill by now of how I expect these kind of events to play out. Every one of them is more or less the same. I don't think that you should speculate around around the outcome, but these days do produce pretty good intraday volatility for us a lot of times. So that's the approach I'm going to have. I'll look at it as a tradable day, but I don't really care about speculating beforehand what's going to happen or anything like that. Yo guys, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the macro. Macro talk is going to be pretty, short and sweet to the point, right? There's been no dramatic changes. So I'm still expecting that the trend is probably going to trade higher later in the year. But as we've been, preaching ever since, like 102K, give or take, that, you don't obviously want to be risk on right now. So the simple moniker is, defensive bull. And that's the best way to explain it. So heavy emphasis on playing defense right now. The way that I look at it, this is a pretty clear break from value. This looks pretty terrible, especially with equities selling off right now. So any sort of bullish hopium, in the short to medium term is kind of futile. On the high time frame, though, I still absolutely think that we'll end up seeing this play out very similarly to what we saw in last year's summertime. So that's pretty much it. If we were to run through some of the key kind of levels, 90K, we're going to basically just be running with round numbers, right? So 90K is obviously important. That's, your previous range reclaim. I think the 80K is pretty important. There's a couple of overlapping levels, but the main talking point is just, it's local lows. So 80K is pretty important. 75K, give or take, is pretty important as well, right at that midpoint between 80 and 70K. This is going to be yearly rolling VWAP. And then lastly, around 60K, the trend value area high, right? So these are the main macro levels to be focused with. I do kind of expect there should be some defense from bulls around 80K, but with equity selling off, that definitely increases the chance that we just sell right through it. Looking for a reaction around 75K for potential, summertime bottoming type of price action. But yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Macro doesn't ever hardly change for me. In order to be invalidated on this trend, right, I just didn't get that tingle that it was over up here, right? I got the clear signs to take, a more defensive approach up here, but the idea that the trend is over, I just didn't get that feeling like I did in 2021. So we need to, continue to watch how this plays out, right? Either we continue to trade lower. From there, I don't think we would just continue to nuke. What might most likely happen if the trend was over is we'd get some sort of dead cat bounce, up into the 70s or 80s or whatever. And then from there, make a lower high and trade down. And that would be a pretty obvious point to look for that trend shift. But for now, I don't have any risk positioning, but I do think that it's not that far away from the point where I'm going to actually want to take that. 8K is an important area, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Medium time frame, a few different things to discuss. First of all, obviously this is structurally it's terrible, right? This is a pretty obvious break from value. And to me, my original doodle when we were right here was we'd trade up and then, trade down and build this distribution out, right? So that's what I think we're doing. We're building a distribution between, call it 88K and probably, 70K, give or take. That is the expected range. So it does mean that we're probably likely to trade lower. There is some defense being put forth from the bulls, and there is potential that 80K is kind of a, dead cat bounce kind of setup. So that is something I'm paying attention to. There is a decent amount of defense from the passive bulls coming through right now. So if on lower time frame I can see downside momentum get lost, then I'm probably going to long this. I actually already did long it this morning and closed it out for a really small profit. I just didn't like the way that it was shaping up, and I just didn't want to take the risk while I was recording this video. So I'll probably, if I see this low continue to get defended and I see this rounding out, then I'll probably send a lower time frame long. As far as medium time frame goes, I do think that, with sentiment being the way it is that if we did get a tiny bit of upside momentum, that we could probably do something similar to what we did with the Sunday strategic reserve announcement, where we kind of get a quick short squeeze. That's going to be a fantastic opportunity for most of you to not FOMO in and instead to probably be looking to de-risk more, right? Just like on this moment or any of these kind of recent, up moves that we've had, I've preached the idea that you don't really want to FOMO in on these things. I know that people are going to show their P&L and you look at green days and you want to buy it, but it's just not, the risk to reward's not there. So that's pretty much it, right? Probably a good segue to move over into altcoins, which this is going to be the shortest altcoin section we've ever done. There's just no real interest in altcoins right now, right? I don't see a reason to be doing much with anything. Whenever I am, trying to trade something, it's just basically going to be about Bitcoin right now. So if I want to get long on something, I'm going to long Bitcoin. If I want to short something, I'll probably short one of the larger liquid things like Bitcoin, ETH, or Solana. And I'm not really super interested in fucking about with alts right now. I did a quick scan before this, and there are still a couple of coins that have higher time frame bull structuring, but it's just, the expected value on trading these things on higher time frame is just piss right now. So if you want to grind out your scalping or intraday trading on alts, I think that's a great idea, right? I'm probably going to mostly stick to more liquid things like Bitcoin and Solana, maybe a little bit of ETH, but I do think the justification for scalping or intraday trading on alts is totally there if that's something you're interested in doing. But higher time frame alt stuff, no interest at all right now, right? I ultimately think that Bitcoin is probably going to trade lower, so obviously that means that altcoins are going to bleed more. So it's not like this is the moment where you want to be saying, oh, everything's discounted, it's time to buy, right? So ultimately, this is a pretty quick outlook today because I'm just going to skip over the alts, and the Bitcoin stuff was pretty short, but that's pretty much it. Good luck out there. You guys have a good idea of what my expectations are. Huge emphasis around what Bitcoin's doing and what the NASDAQ and the S&P, what your little piss altcoin, is doing right now that got listed 6 weeks ago. We don't give a fuck about that right now, right? It's just all about what are the benchmarks doing. That's going to lead the way. There's potential that ADK is a local bottom that we're making right now for a reversion long. I would be very careful with it, but I am keeping a close eye because, I've got the itch to trade, so I might send that trade. If we do get a bounce, you want to be looking to not sell into it immediately because we could be squeezing out shorts, and if that's the case, that means we're going to move up quickly and run people over. But if we do squeeze up at any point this week or any point really soon, you want to sell into that, right? I would say you want to be selling spot things to play defense, and you want to be opening up hedges or just going net short or whatever in general. As much as I think we're going to trade up higher this year and want to be bullish, the rationale for taking that risk is not there right now, and I think we'll trade lower before we trade higher. So that's it for me. Good luck out there. Cheers, everybody.